Hello, fellow pixel tankers. Here today we're on Prokhorovka, and in for a little bit of a light tank discussion surrounding strategy and sort of my thoughts on the mid-tier light tanks in general. Before the battle starts, I'm going to pause real quick. Everything you want to do as the battle starts. First of all, map. Prokhorovka, very open, 3 arty. There's going to be a bit of a camp to this game. Second of all, bottom tier, uh, interesting matchmaking, only 2 tier 7s on top instead of the usual 3-5-7, but such as the NA at probably early in the morning when I played this game. Point being, we cannot make very many mistakes in this game. As a bottom tier light tank, especially at the low tiers like tier 5, you get 1 or 2 mistakes per game, and that's it. Your HP is very low, so you have to be very conservative with what you have, which means at the beginning of the game, I tend to not like to make very aggressive plays. So continuing on, with that in mind, a lot of people like to take those D1, E1, F1 bushes, try and get some spots down the west line, and while in a higher tier light tank, you can definitely get away with that. The ELC really just can't. It's too slow of a machine. After they nerfed it, the engine is very weak, so any sort of uphill movement is painful to say the least. We're on our way to the mid-ridge over here. Now, this is another move that works a lot better in high-tier light tanks, although it's mainly for view range reasons. I cross over to the left quite early here, and that's because I know I'm not going to have enough view range to extend all the way down over here to this J area, so I'm not even going to bother. I do want, however, want to get over to the hill, and at this point I'm noticing that it's just me and this Cromwell over here, which is not ideal. Uh, we're not going to really be able to push this hill, so playing passively will be all we're going to be able to do. Pop over here just to see if I can get a light on someone who's maybe moving really slowly, like like that VK heavy tank, but cards are not in for me. You can see I'm running binos rather than optics. These low tier light tanks really just don't have enough view range to get away with running optics. Even food, I've got 100% crew, no situational awareness and recon, but I would suggest running binos. My other 2 equipment are going to be the vents and the rammer. I've heard some people say that if you're running the 90 on the ELC like I am, to not run a rammer at all because your reload is so long that you want to be disengaging between shots. And that's a valid argument, but in this tier 5 light tank, I prefer to be able to carry as much as possible, because you really can't trust your team to even be doing damage at these sorts of low tiers, so doing it yourself sometimes is the only option, and so the rammer helps, and then vents be just to try and squeeze every meter of view range I can out of the tank. It's not looking so good over here. Unfortunately, their VK has made the right play and is moved up. So as you can see on the minimap, the Cromwell has begun running away. And while I would have liked it if he stayed a little bit longer, it's going to have turned out the right play. And seeing him run away, I figure it's time for me to get out, because again, 1 or 2 mistakes, BDR up there gets spotted. I'm really not too worried about getting hit as I'm going down this hill there, and as you can see, the shot whizzing right over, because a lot of these mid-low tier tanks, heavy tank or not, very poor gun handling. Now as I'm moving away here, I take care to always stay outside of the water, because as you see here, as soon as you hit that water, down to what, 15, 16 kilometers an hour, the water in this game really slows you down if you hit that orange icon where you're sufficiently underwater, which is turret ring, I believe, is where you start counting as drowning, which is why you can get silly things like Electo, which drowns even when the entirety of its tracks are above water, because the turret ring where the gun sits is so close to the ground. That's neither here nor there, though. We're getting some vision up here. It doesn't look like they had quite pushed down the hill yet, so I'm going to try get some vision so that while they're coming down that hill and they're crossing that open field, we'll be able to get, hopefully, some damage off. Moving up to that bush, because the previous bush, if you look at the minimap circles, didn't really have enough view to see the top of the hill. Binos are up, and we're just waiting. And the T-34-100 and the VK get spotted. Pull back to double bush, think about going for the VK, but I decided to change to the T-34. Unfortunately, it goes into the tracks. I decided not to shoot at the VK because the VK has surprisingly strong armor. With only having 120 AP pen on this 90mm gun, the frontal plate of VK is fairly good. He was going at a downslope, so I probably wouldn't be able to penetrate it. But if I'd hit the side armor, it was at such an angle that it probably would have bounced. So I just went for the T-34. Besides, the higher tier target is probably more important to shoot at. Anyway, so at this point, I'm getting a little annoyed at the fact that our west flank has done basically nothing, despite consisting of pretty much our entire team. They seem to be still dying. You can see the complete graveyard of tanks just next to that Su-85. So I figure I'll go over here, try and get some vision out, maybe being able to crawl up enough that I'm able to spot their ELC, who I suspect is the one doing all the spotting. Now, this does leave the east a little bit open. We have that Stug and that M4 as the only people there, and honestly, I don't trust them to stop anything. Our T-25-2 just rushes forward, dies. That's disappointing. Quick shot at the ELC, although I didn't really expect that one to go in. Thankfully, the ELC did get spotted taking the kill. I guess he was worried that the T-25 would get close enough to spot him, but unfortunately for him, this is going to be his one mistake that I was talking about earlier. Quick snapshot doesn't go in, but I'm not too bothered because he doesn't spot me because I was behind the bush. He's hiding behind the wreck of that T-25 too to try and keep people spotted. Unfortunately for him though, I still have a shot at him, which means he gets taken out. Now as far as the ELC goes as a tank, when it got nerfed, a lot of people were angry to say the least. Because the old ELC, back with the old scout matchmaking, was an absolute blast of a tank. It was definitely an active, not a passive scout. The view range still wasn't great for a tier 5 scout, but it was so incredibly fast that you could pull off some amazing maneuvers with it. That's not really the case anymore, as you can probably tell by how fast the ELC moves. It doesn't accelerate very well, and in close quarters, that really hampers your ability to outmaneuver your opponents. As for the gun, the 90mm used to be by far and away the only option. Nowadays, it's more of a toss-up. I still think the 90mm is stronger, because 240 Alpha on a tier 5 light tank is just so good. So here we're going to pop up, manage to spot the 3 spotted earlier, and that IKV-90, which is nice to know the IKV is not over west. One shot comes in from already at the T-34. I could pop over again to try and spot those 4 tanks again, but I'm really not spotting for damage. At this point, I'm trying to spot more for information. So, A, that doesn't really align with my goals to spot again, and B, there's probably some people pre-aiming that ridge, and again, one mistake. And it looks like this Crusader made his second. And that's the end of the Crusader. So the Stug gets taken out, unfortunately for him, and I know that these enemy tanks are definitely going to be trying cresting this ridge. Hellcat picks up a good kill on the VK, and I'm just waiting. Binos pop up just in time to spot that IKV, and he's not going to be doing too well. Made a little bit of a mistake here. I tried and get that kill. I'm a little bit greedy, but I didn't notice the T-34-100 had crested the ridge, so I get spotted for that. And, well, that constitutes my one mistake this game. 93 health left after a direct hit by the Arty. Thankfully, I didn't get one shot by the Arty, and the T-34-100 has been taken out, so we don't really have to worry about pressure on the cap too much anymore. I don't really see that BDR being too aggressive. Enemy grill takes out our grill. I'm not too bothered about losing our Arty. Really, it's the Hellcat and that B-43 I'd like to keep around as much as possible. Going for Arty at this point. And here's that first Arty. 90mm means we get the one shot, 50-50 coin flip, essentially, because 240 health and 240 alpha on the gun. WZ-131 gets spotted rushing into our Hellcat. I'm not paying attention too much there. We lose the Su-85, M44 gets spotted. I try and back down completely behind this ridge, but the ELC doesn't quite have the gun depression to do that, so I decide to just take the shot. M44 is coming at me, so I'm going to back down behind this ridge, so I have time to reload. I didn't think I was spotted, but apparently I was spotted earlier than I thought, but the M44 doesn't quite have the gun depression, so I take the kill anyway. I'm thinking about going back, but I realize there's a good chance the grill is right behind me, right while I'm looking back in those bushes, and this ridge is really the only protection I have from him, so I pull forward, trying to fake him out. Hopefully, if he's in top-down looking at me, he sees me going forward and I got spotted right at that moment. I'm trying to count 10 seconds, but I'm not quite sure if I quite made it. See, the Nashorn just took out the Bishop, and the P43 Tear, well, he wasn't on very much health last time we saw him, so he's probably not going to last very long. Fortunately, and or fortunate for us, we do not find the grill here. Instead, we find the Su-85 coming down off the hill. So we'll pick up this kill, put one shot in. We know that the Su-85 really poor view range, and at tier 5 a lot of people tend to not have very good crews, so I wasn't too worried about getting spotted. I figured if he decided to not push at me aggressively, I could reload, get the second shot while in stealth. He did push forward, so I pulled back behind the ridge, set up on the backside, and finish off the Su-85 as he pops over. So now it's just the Nashorn and the grill. I still want to try and be evasive to avoid the grill. No shot comes in though, which is nice. And at this point I'm definitely unspotted. I'm deciding to go up the hill when somebody gets in the capsule. And I'm fairly sure that it's the Nashorn. He's the closest one, and at this point I think that Artie was in K1 or something like that, but nope, Artie gets spotted all the way E8 in that city over there, which is an interesting position, but thankfully he gets spotted. Someone on my team, the P43, is suggesting I go for the Artie, but no. The ELC, it's still a fairly quick machine, but not that quick, so I want to have as much time as possible to reset the cap. The Su-85 in chat says the Nashorn is on a one shot, so I ask him what his HP is, if he can be more specific. Su-85 replies, says it's something like 7%, which is nice. At this point, I'm just taking a look at the view range circles, trying to see if I can spot the Nashorn. Unfortunately, I don't quite spot him, so given that, I'm going to go over to these bushes and get closer, because I don't want to try and spot him in the open field. I prefer to have as much bush cover on my side as possible. So, pulling up to the first set of bushes, don't see anything. There's not enough time left to bother putting up binocs every time I move to a bush. Second bush pile, and these trees apparently have more camo than I expected, but I can spot through them. Waiting, aiming, Nashorn. He takes a blind shot, it goes nowhere close. So this is fairly textbook camo play. Pop forward to spot through the bush, pull back so that the bush has enough camo, and take out the Nashorn. Easy reset, now all that's left is the Artie. So I'm going to load in an HE round, grill 240 HP, 50-50 coin flip like I was saying with the AP. With the HE, it's basically guaranteed, and the grill has so little armor on the superstructure that this gun will have no problem penetrating with HE. I know the grill it's not slow for an Artie, but in the grand scheme of things, not very quick. Spot the grill over here. It starts pulling back, which is odd. Most people don't have sixth sense on their tier 5 Arties. I'm not sure if that's what it is, or he just happened to be pulling back at that time. Fortuitous for him, I guess, but I've got 2 HE shells, so I'm not too worried. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up over on this side, see if I can spot it behind the house, and there we go. Now all we have to do, aim in, easy shot. There's basically no way this one can miss. And that's why you don't ever say that this one can't miss, because Wargaming always finds a way to make sure your shot misses. Thankfully though, we've got a minute 40 left on the clock, so we're just going to hide here till we go dark. We know we're going to go dark when the grill also on the enemy team goes dark. So now we can just pull out around, make sure he's suitably far away. He's low tier Artie, and Artie in general has atrocious view range, so really there's no reason why I should ever get spotted by this grill. And now we can take our time to aim in and pick up the last kill. That's the ELC AMX, Prokhorovka, textbook, bush spotting, vision work, and as you'll see, quite a nice result.